What's good everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zamir from XCC Tunes. In this video I'm going to talk about some of the features that I will miss if I start using Studio One 6. I have been messing around and playing with Studio One 6, now 6.1. I love the fact that it is very stable DAW. I'm not saying Cubase is not stable, but there are times Cubase is quite heavy on my CPU, which is a 12-core Intel CPU, and I invest a lot on this PC, but it's still not enough for Cubase. So hence I am trying Studio One for now, because the workflow of Cubase and Studio One is very similar. However, there are a few features in Cubase that is not available in Studio One. So we're gonna talk about that today. Let's get started. Okay, the first one is gonna be the basic one, which is the control room right here. Control room is one of my favorite feature. Okay, the reason is I can add insert here, and every time I open Cubase, these plugins that I've added is gonna be there, so I don't have to manually add them every time. And all I have to do is just enable it and then check my mixes through these plugins. So that is very useful. So that's one way of using control room, and the other one is using these mixes and the cues for reference. So usually I'll add a reference track, and I send the track to the cue here, which is C1, and I can check my mixes at any time I want. And it's very fast, and of course everything that I need here is here, which is like check the mixes in mono. Okay, click on this and so on. So control room is definitely one of the features that I will miss if I start using Studio One. The other one is this one right here, the audio alignment panel. I don't think this feature is available in Studio One. This is where we can align a lot of audios, like for example a guitar track or a vocal track, and like background vocals. I can actually align them pretty fast. I know in Studio One they have this bending feature where I can manually stretch the audio to match the lead vocals or the lead instrument. However, in Cubase it's very easy. All I have to do is just go to this panel here, add the original reference and then the targets, and when I click on this align audio, it's gonna just do it quickly. This is another feature in Cubase that I use all the time, especially when it comes to background vocals, because I really don't want to do it manually. So yeah, that's another feature that I will miss for sure. Okay, the other feature that I will miss is the channel settings in Cubase. So let me add a couple of tracks to show you guys. So there's 5 tracks here, and if I go to the channel settings here, I have this channel strip, and you can see a bunch of effects that I can add on right away without having to insert any of them here. So we have gate, compressor, EQ, and tools. We have de-esser, envelope shaper, and saturation and limiter. I didn't add any of the insert plugin here, which is super useful, and so that definitely is something that I would prefer in Studio One. And another thing is that okay, when I hover my mouse like so, I can see the note A, B, C, and so on. So that is also useful when I'm kind of like tuning an instrument in Cubase. So this is one of the features that I like the most, and I wish Studio One will have this in the future. Okay, the next feature that I like is the comparison. For example, this is a audio 1. Okay, let me just rename this. Kick, bass. Now, this is the bass instrument. So I just click on the channel settings here, so it's gonna load the channel settings of this bass. However, I can go and choose the kick for me to compare the instrument. So right here we have bass. If the bass frequency is quite heavy on this part here, and I can also check the kick simultaneously. So if I want, I can cut those parts from the kick, or I can boost this one from the kick and keep the one from the bass lower. You know, this is super useful. It's not only for kick and bass, I can use this for pretty much any instruments. So even if I want to check with my vocals and synth, I can do that as well. It's super useful. Okay, so this is another feature that I will definitely miss in Cubase. Okay, and the last feature that I will miss is definitely Dolby. Mixing in Dolby. I haven't started mixing in Dolby yet. This is one of the things that I'm planning to learn in the future, and in Cubase we already have this plugin where we can mix in Dolby. Okay, so let me just open up the Dolby renderer. Okay, now you get this errors because this is not for stereo track. You need to have a different kind of channel configuration. I'm not going to touch on that today. So yeah, like I said, so all the music nowadays is being mixed in Dolby. I haven't really explored that yet. However, if I switch to Studio One, I would not have this feature in Studio One. So maybe for mixing only, I'll be using Cubase. So I hope that in the future, Studio One will have this feature. So these are the most important features of Cubase that I will miss if I move to Studio One 6. And of course, there are other benefits of switching to Studio One, like the macro. If I'm not wrong, Cubase was the first one to introduce macro, but Studio One took it to the next level. They made it even better than the one in Cubase. Okay guys, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.